CNN, ESPN, ABC, BCB, TNT, but mostly BS.
This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Yes, it will. It'll be live, and you can always tell we're doing it live right here on Talking Left when computers crash on you. But hey, that's part of radio. As promised, before our abrupt break there, we are going to speak with a great guest, Alex Lawson, the owner and producer of We Act Radio in Washington, D.C., WPWC 1480 AM, and the executive director of Social Security Works. Alex, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much for allowing us to call you a little late.
No, that's perfectly fine, and technical difficulties are definitely part of live radio. So it makes it fun and exciting.
Exactly. Every day is different. Well, Alex, obviously you guys are doing amazing things over there at We Act, and we could get into that and speak about that all day. But with all of the talk in the Romney-Ryan campaign about cutting Medicare and cutting Social Security in order to save it, Shane and I thought you would be a great person to speak with to get some realistic information about that.
Definitely, and it's extremely relevant. And right now, I think, you know, when the Ryan pick was announced, I was very happy because this is a debate that I want to have. When we are talking about the policies that the Romney-Ryan ticket will go forward, say, well, I've never, spelled out anything that I believe in, and I believe in everything all at once. But when you picked Ryan, we know exactly what Ryan stands for, and we've known what Romney stands for, but now it's clear as day. And what the Romney-Ryan plan for Medicare and Social Security is, in both cases, is to end those programs and to fundamentally alter them to the point where they would no longer be what people recognize currently as Social Security or Medicare.
Absolutely. So you are the executive director of Social Security Works. The website for everybody listening is strengthensocialsecurity.org. Is that correct?
Yep, strengthensocialsecurity.org. You can go to strengthensocialsecurity.org/Romney-Ryan, and you can find a page of resources about what their plans actually are. And they've detailed their plans. We have the Ryan roadmap to end Social Security and Medicare in 2010. We have his recent one. It's all detailed exactly what these would mean. These changes would mean to current beneficiaries, people who are currently on these programs and receiving benefits after a lifetime of hard work that they've earned, what the drastic changes that would happen for them, and for future beneficiaries, they would basically take the programs completely away from them. In terms of Social Security, the Romney-Ryan plan would change the program from an earned benefit that reflects basically what you've paid in over a lifetime is where your benefit is coming from. It's actually the more you've earned during your working life, the higher your benefit is. Although the progressive nature of Social Security means that lowering their percentage of their income returned to them, it is not a welfare program, and this is an earned benefit. It really it rewards hard work, and the Romney-Ryan plan would destroy that. It would unlink that fundamental structural link in Social Security so that in the future there would be one very modest, around $9,000 benefit regardless of your work history through your working life. And I think a really important point to notice on this is that this is not a new idea. In fact, in 1936 and 37, there was the exact same proposal made by the Republicans back then around Social Security that they never wanted it. Alf Landon, who ran against FDR, never wanted it to be the program that it is today, which is a wage insurance program. They always knew that as a wage insurance program, Social Security would be wildly popular across party lines, across demographics. It would be universally popular, just as it's universally a program. It's universality as a program when the vast majority, upwards of 90% of Americans pay into Social Security and are able to get its benefits either when they retire, if they become disabled and not able to work and lose wages due to disability, or if the breadwinner of the family is killed, then through the survivor's benefit, it also replaces family income for those people, for families who've lost a breadwinner.
Which is something Paul Ryan actually collected Social Security benefits for, and yet he would see fit to destroy that for others who are in the same situation he was in.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think it's really hypocritical, incredibly hypocritical that without Paul Ryan admits that without Social Security survivors benefits, it would have been very difficult for him to have gone to college, to have successfully, to basically be where he is today. He admits that Social Security had a large part to play with that, but he would deny that to future generations.
Well, and you mentioned a moment ago, we are speaking with Alex Lawson, the wearer of many hats, but one of them being the executive director of Social Security Works. You mentioned a moment ago that you compared the newer plan with Ryan's original budget put forth in 2010. Do you have secret access to details that the rest of us can't get to? Because even Romney and Ryan themselves won't give up any information about the current plan.
Well, that's the trick that they're trying to pull is saying, oh, well, all the things that we've said over the past couple of years that we voted on, that we stand behind, that we've said over and over again on the record, you can't hold us to that. And that's silly. Of course we can. We know through the 2010 roadmap exactly what Paul Ryan, in his own words, he said that was Paul Ryan unplugged. That is a reflection of what he believes for the program. And now they don't want to detail what they are saying they'll do in the future because they know that their proposals are so deeply unpopular. Pew just released another poll today that showed, again, that the majority of Americans across party lines do not want to see their Social Security benefits cut. They do not want to see Medicare program replaced with a voucher-type system, which would limit Americans' access to the doctors that they want to see. That's something that they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about how their plan would mean that you can't see the doctor that you want to see. They don't want to talk about that their plan would bring the worst of the private insurance system and push it into Medicare, which the polls show over and year after year, folks who are receiving Medicare are very happy with Medicare because, after 65 years or some portion in the private health insurance market being denied coverage over and over again, once a person becomes eligible for Medicare, it's a different system. There's no more insurance person on the phone saying, I'm sorry, your coverage has been denied. It doesn't exist in Medicare. It's an earned right over a lifetime of work. So, of course, they don't want to talk about how that's what their plan for America is, but we have their paper. We know what they've put forward. We know what they've voted on. And putting Ryan on the is a solid endorsement of the Romney-Ryan ticket.
Yeah, it's Romney solidly endorsing what Ryan stood for, saying that this is a man that's a viable second in command, that he is ready to lead this country and become president at a moment's notice. And this is a man that would essentially destroy a good part of our country's history without a second thought.
I couldn't agree more. And, it's when they added him to the ticket, and they continue to do so now, they tout his policy credentials as a very serious thinker, as the policy brains on the ticket. But at the same time, they want to run away from the policies that he actually puts forward. So they can't have it both ways. They put forward Paul Ryan as the policy guru, as their brain on the ticket. We know what policies he supports, and we look at those policies and we detail their effect on the American people.
Absolutely, and until they give us more information and release this, wonderful plan to save America and Medicare and Social Security alike, the only thing that we have to go on is Ryan's voting record and his 2010 quote-unquote roadmap to success or prosperity or whatever cheesy word he put in there.
I think that, they'll probably release their future right after they release Mitt Romney's tax returns. I think that's still...
Yeah, they're hidden in the same place.
Well, they keep claiming that essentially what they're going to do is release it after they're elected. Elect us and then you'll get the details. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Trust us. And no, don't ask us if Mitt Romney took advantage of the tax amnesty in 2009. Definitely don't ask us that. We'll tell you after the election. Mm-hmm. I think it's funny, sad that Mitt Romney required more tax returns from Paul Ryan to become his vice presidential candidate than he's willing to give to the American people, who he says he has what it takes to lead as the president of the nation.
Well, and my opinion is that this is just like the taxes, in that their refusal to release the details of this new plan that is supposedly so different from Ryan shows that whatever is in that plan is more damaging than the flack they get for not releasing it.
And I think what you're seeing is that, this isn't like Paul Ryan said something 20 years ago that we're unearthing, although that would also be important. These are bills that Paul Ryan ushered through the House year after year as the fundamental budget that they believe in.
Absolutely. He owns the issues.
Exactly. And budgets are moral documents. This is my vision for the nation and for the future of the nation. And we know what their vision for the future of the nation is, and it doesn't include Social Security and Medicare.
Well, speaking of vision and changes to this country, you are a owner and producer of We Act Radio. What prompted you, I'm not sure which came first, your work with the Social Security works or your desire to get involved in radio?
Well, one really grew out of the other. My work on Social Security really me the deep flaws in the current media infrastructure, in that there is an elite consensus on Social Security that exists only in D.C. that does not reflect at all the will of the American people, and yet the media are not willing to tell that story. They refuse to tell the actual story that Social Security is a fully funded, self-funded program. It's our program. We've earned it. And that really prompted me to say, look, the media system that we currently have is not functioning at a level that's responsive and respectful of what Americans want to hear. They want to know the truth. They want to know what's actually going on. And that's why when I was able to, when my business partner, Kamon Freeman, brought this opportunity, we jumped at it, and we also were really, it was an easy one because, as we say, truth is our product. And that's what we're doing day in and day out at We Act Radio, is making sure that the real stories that people want to hear about are told, and that people's voices who've been traditionally shut out of the media are raised up and they're able to tell their stories.
Well, I commend you and Kamon, who has a really awesome show over there on We Act, for everything that you do. And thank you so much for taking time with us, especially being a little late here tonight and dealing with some technical issues. We really appreciate it, Alex.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Alex Lawson, everybody, of We Act Radio, weactradio.com. Social Security works at strengthensocialsecurity.org. You can follow him on Twitter at ALaw202. And definitely check out We Act Radio, WCWP 1480 AM. Check out Kamon's show, Speakeasy. It's awesome. He's always talking about great stuff. The last time I was in the studio,
get him in here.
Yes, the last time he was talking about freeing Bradley Manning and Julian Assange being in Ecuador. So he's always talking about very interesting, relevant, important issues. We're not at our normal break time, Shane. What do we do here?
We started a little bit early.
Okay. Do you have a funny, interesting story you could share with us for a few moments?
It's not that funny.
Okay. How about interesting? This
one's for D.C. This is in our backyard. Somebody in D.C., musician, ordered a flat screen TV through Amazon, Amazon.com. And what did he get in the mail?
A rifle. I actually heard this story.
He got an assault rifle.
Yep.
Wow. How do you? Well, first of all, D.C. has pretty strict laws.
Yeah. How did that slip into the district?
I mean, well, now I hate to say it, but you can't even have a handgun in D.C. They're very, they decided years ago that this is really not a good idea. But yeah, he got a SIG 716, similar to an M16. Yeah, it's used by law enforcement in the military.
He ordered a TV.
Right.
And he was a good citizen and called and reported the gun. I mean, granted, he was probably pissed off about not getting his TV.
I know you cannot get the Michigan game on a gun.
No, you definitely can't see the Wolverines play on an AK-47 or whatever it was that he ordered.
They all look alike to me.
Talk about needing some more gun control.
Yeah.
How does one in the Amazon warehouse make that mix-up?
Actually, I actually want to look at, can you actually buy assault rifles on Amazon.com?
That's really disturbing if you can. The fact that you can buy one through the mail, period, is disturbing.
Well, see, I'm doing a search right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to get
the Secret Service is is monitoring your every move.
Considering where I'm doing it from, I may get some trouble here. Yeah, they actually. I typed in just the gun, and there are guns there.
That's
I'm
disturbing.
Right now. Yes,
that's disturbing.
I did not know that. I knew you could get guns at Walmart and things like that. I did not know that.
To be able to purchase something like that, period, then be able to purchase it online.
I wonder what the rules are in terms of background checks through that.
Well, what are the rules in the background checks for the people working in the warehouse who shipped that?
I have no. I just it never even occurred to me that that'd be something you could purchase that way. I mean, we hear all about the gun shows. We should probably ask somebody like Cliff if there's any issues that have come up in terms of well, we did find out though that the shooter in Colorado, he had ordered a lot of his ammo through the mail, but it was through an arms type place.
Yeah. Why does Amazon.com need to sell guns?
I don't know. I just got away from the page as fast as I possibly.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
But yeah, yeah. So when we get the TV we want to be getting, we have to be careful.
Well, we would normally go to
what
a break.
What kind of promo code is that?
We would normally go to a break in just a few minutes, but since we did keep everybody waiting, we could easily jump into Todd Aiken's comments if you'd like.
I know everyone's dying. Can I just say something? I don't know if you watched this last night. I was very interested to see. Everyone knows the Aiken story. You'll get into it. But, Todd Aiken, who legitimate rape, blah, 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 idiot, fool. I was interested to see what the right's response to this was. And I don't have time to listen to the right-wing radio. I haven't gone to Media Matters in a couple of days. But I did watch Fox News 2 nights ago, right after the story became a big deal. Not a word. It was almost like they had told the guests, we're not going to talk about this and don't you talk about it, because a couple people tried to slip it in. And the response was, well, he's a nobody congressman. Nobody even pays attention, blah, 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 next. And then it was even funnier last night watching Sean Hannity. He had this big old fluff piece with Paul Ryan.
Oh, yes.
But kept teasing his entire show. And I have some information on Aiken. He teased it all the way to the end of his show. Even saved like an inconsequential clip of him to the very end of his show. So they see the ratings in this, but they don't like the content of what's getting the ratings.
Because
how hypocritical and cynical is that?
Because it's what the Republicans are running on. So many people are out there asking if it's fair for Obama and the Democrats to link this comment to Romney and Ryan, to link what he said to them running, to their campaign.
But wait. Before you get into that analysis, which part? He said a couple things in his comment. So you have to kind of pull them apart, because I know you have your whole thing worked out here, and I don't mean to throw you sideways. But there's really two distinct parts of his comment. One is the use of the term legitimate rape.
Right.
The other part is where he said women's bodies reject.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely two parts. Does he honestly believe that that occurs, that any woman who gets pregnant must not have been actually raped.
And that's the part the Republicans are running away from, the crazy science from, the dark ages.
So they're perfectly okay with legitimate rape comments.
Well, they're forcible rape because they put it in H.R. 3.
Yep.
So go on. Sorry.
Well, I just, I have to ask myself, is he just a Republican rogue? Is he out there speaking out on a limb, not taking into any consideration what the Republican Party stands for? Are his values completely separate of that of the Republican Party? Is his view that most rapes are actually consensual, which is your point, Shane, is that independent? He doesn't have...
I don't know if that was my forcible rape seems redundant.
Forcible rape seems redundant, but
I think he meant legitimate
belief.
rape. I think he meant legitimate rape when he said it, but they wanted to switch it over to forcible rape because that was part of that bill. Legitimate rape means I don't believe most of women who cry rape.
Exactly. That's what we're making the same point here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I wasn't briefed.
Are his values congruent with those of the Republican Party? Perhaps it's just too soon. Perhaps the bigwigs in the party just didn't want him to slip it in so quickly.
Oh, come on. Don't use that pun.
Maybe they just didn't want him to give it up so easily. I had to put the puns in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're just shaking. Shane's just shaking his head.
No.
But, the fact is that Aiken and Paul are virtually the same. They both voted for the Ryan budget. They both voted to repeal Obamacare. They both voted for the Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act, which essentially is an anti-abortion bill.
What a weird name for the prenatal non-discrimination.
Well, because everybody's against discrimination.
So if you vote against it, you're discriminating.
You're discriminating against a zygote, but you're discriminating.
Okay.
Yeah. They both voted to prohibit taxpayer-funded abortions, H.R. 3, which you were just mentioning, which was the quote-unquote forcible rape bill, although
I read that bill.
Yeah.
They never did. 'Cause I thought it would be interesting. Would you please define this term for me? They just like,
we have a caller a bit early here. Our next guest, perhaps?
Is that possible?
I'm just going to go with it.
Okay.
Oh, maybe not.
Yes.
Okay.
Alex may have called back by accident. He may have hit redial, but the thing is that where was I? Forcible rape in that bill. I went through H.R. 3, and everyone says, "Oh no, he's referring to forcible rape." Everyone knows what that means. No, I don't.
No,
it's not defined.
I don't.
It's not defined. It's not defined in the bill. So if that had passed, what the heck does it mean?
Well, then the specifically open-ended definition is even more dangerous.
Nice and malleable for every
Exactly.
judge in the country.
But, the fact is Republicans have been voting on anti-abortion bills like it's going out of style this year. They've presented, between the 2011 and 2012 Congress, they've presented 103 anti-abortion bills, 40 of which have passed in 2012, 60 of which passed in 2011.
Not to mention all the states.
It seems like their primary focus. They're out there complaining about jobs and the economy and all this, but they spend all their time trying to repeal Obamacare, trying to take women's voting rights away, and trying to name libraries and federal buildings. That's where are the jobs? Why haven't they created the jobs, Shane?
I don't know. Not taking women's voting rights away, but voting's
women's civil rights away. Sorry, I misspoke.
That's okay. Well, the states are working on our voting rights too.
Yes, exactly. They're out there for that either.
It's amazing how many rights they're working on getting away, but in the name of liberty, of course.
Exactly, because they're exercising our freedoms.
But the thing is that there were two parts to his statement. One was legitimate rape, which is ridiculous, and two was if it's a legitimate rape, then the body, there's these warriors that come in and kill the sperm, and there'll never be an actual conception and a birth. So therefore, and the really scary part of that, well, you got pregnant, so therefore it's not a rape.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's where they're going.
That's where some of the backwards people are going. No one in science, not that Republicans are really interested in science, would let them get there. But the thing is that just like we were talking about when it comes to Social Security, they make the grand statements about Social Security. We'll save it. We'll save Medicare. The Republicans are saying, we have denounced his statements. We have denounced Aiken. We want him to get off the ticket. But have they denounced his policy? They may denounce the part where he says the woman's body rejects.
They've done quite the opposite, in fact.
That's why I think it's fair.
I think it's completely fair to link these comments to Romney and Ryan.
Not the second one, but the forcible rape part.
Yes.
And they don't see a problem with that, but yet they come out on TV whenever you challenge them on this. But Romney denounced it.
I don't care. I don't care that he denounced it. It's cut funding for Planned Parenthood. He has voted against any abortion rights. He has said specifically, well, he's for it, and then he's against it, and then he's for it, and I think now he's against it again. But his policies are the same as Aiken's.
Right. But they want to have the argument, and they want to move the argument away from that, from the abortion rights, to what Aiken said was bad because of the science part of it.
Right.
But they try to wrap it all together, muddy it all up, and say what he said was crazy, and hoping that some women out there say, oh yeah, then they must be for, a woman's right to choose in some odd, misinformed way. Oh, if they're against Aiken, therefore they're on my side. Which is not the case.
And all this at the exact same time. They're all standing there denouncing Aiken. The Republican GOP Platform Committee actually approves the quote-unquote human life amendment. The text of the amendment reads, faithful to the self-evident truths enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, we assert the sanctity of human life and affirm that an unborn child has a fundamental individual right of life which cannot be infringed. So at the same time, they're trying to, as you say he's crazy because of the medical side of that argument.
Well,
they're perfectly okay with denying women the right to choose which services apply to their own body.
And contraception and all kinds of other. I don't know if I would say it's the law of unintended consequences, but I'm beginning to think more and more it's the law of intended consequences. They'd love to get rid of contraception and start looking into every miscarriage that occurs out there and see, if the woman did something wrong.
Exactly. And, when we hear Republicans out there crying that this comment shouldn't be applied to Romney and Ryan, we have to remember this. They applied all of the comments of William Ayers and all of this nonsense to Obama. The difference is those were in complete contrast to what Obama stood for. Todd Aiken is essentially a poster child for everything the Republican Party stands for. So, yes, it's completely fair to link them.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
You got to your final point.
Yes. So coming up next, we're going to be speaking with Kathleen Schafer, founding principal of leadershipconnection.net. You can go and check out that site at leadershipconnection.net and follow her on Twitter at LeadCon with 2 N's. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shane.
It reflects the drama of the human experience, and isn't that the essence of art?
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Such energy powers as BP, ExxonMobil, Halliburton, and Koch Industries have gone crackers over fracking. Seeing huge profits from this dreadfully destructive and dangerously dirty method of forcing natural gas out of rock formations deep in the earth, the industry is presently scurrying all over the country, asking landowners to sign contracts, allowing them to drill and frack on farms, parkland, playgrounds, and even people's backyards. But now, in cities and rural areas alike, this unbridled gas rush has become a matter of deeply grave concern. Literally, in the shriveled ethical universe of these fracking profiteers, money trumps everything and nothing is sacred. Not even graveyards, the eternal resting place of our loved ones. Yes, gas frackers across the country are out to get drilling rights in hundreds of cemeteries, promising maintenance money to caretakers in exchange for letting the corporations sink their explosive siphons down under the dearly departed. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and mineral rights to Exxon. How spiritual. Oh, come on, snap the industry's impatient hustlers. The fracking takes place way underground, so it won't disturb the graves. Yeah, but what about the souls? A cemetery is a spiritual sanctuary, a place of respect, serenity, and moral decorum. But a fracking corporation has no soul, and its moral concerns penetrate no deeper than its bottom line. For a measure of just how shallow corporate morality is, note that the frackers even threaten the hallowed ground of some of our veterans' cemeteries. Their ethos is clear. Hey, out of the way, decorum is one thing, but there's money under those graves. This is Jim Hightower saying they're fracturing our deepest values. To fight this, go to foodandwaterwatch.org.
If you'd like more of Jim Hightower's real populism, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter gives you the real lowdown on which corporations, by name, are doing what to the middle class, our environment, and our democracy. Each month, the Hightower Lowdown brings you facts you didn't know, along with actions you can take to fight back. It also comes with a sense of humor. Hightower believes we can fight the gods and still have fun. Plus, get this, it's cheap. Only $15 brings you 12 issues a year. For real populism, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
You're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Welcome back to Talking Left. We are live here, thanks to all of our great stations, Radio or Not, our home sweet home, Progressive Blend Radio, Talk Radio 1, and of course SoFlo Radio. Thanks, guys, for sticking with us despite some technical issues earlier in the show. We have a great guest on the phone, Kathleen Schafer of Leadership Connection. You can check out the site at leadershipconnection.net and make sure to follow her on Twitter at LeadCon, C-O-N-N. Kathleen, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us. Kathleen is the founding principal of Leadership Connection, which was started in 1995 to support individuals, groups, and organizations to effectively create necessary change both within and outside the political system. Did I get that all correct, Kathleen?
You did. You did very well. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I was checking out your amazing blog last night, which everybody can check out on that site. And you had a great article up posted August 13th, Confident Enough to Win, in which you go into what makes these political candidates good leaders and what we want as Americans. Can you explain a little bit about that for our listeners?
Well, the idea is that what we really want from our leaders, especially our political leaders, are those who are real and authentic, people who will tell us who they are, what are their values, what they're thinking, and be straightforward about it. And what happens so much in today's political process is that in order to win, or they feel in order to win an election, they have to surrender some of those values or beliefs to tell people what they think that they want to hear, when in fact what voters want is somebody who's going to talk straight to them and do what they say, even if perhaps we don't always agree with it.
Yeah, very well said. I like specifically that your line here, determining the outcome of an election is no more difficult than assessing which candidate is most comfortable in his or her own skin. It's very apt right now for watching Romney go through this political process, and he seems very uncomfortable with connecting with people, with being able to be himself, because I think he realizes that most people can't connect with him as the 1%. Would you agree with that?
To a certain extent. I think the way that I see Romney, which is too bad, and the way that I see all leaders and all of us, for that matter, is that who we are and what we have to give and to bring is important and it's valuable. And in Romney's case, here is someone who has been very successful. I mean, he is in many ways the epitome of the American dream, and his family certainly is. And many people would aspire to live a life story similar to his. Instead of looking at where the benefits are and using what he's learned in his life to connect with people and help lift them up, what he's tried to do is pretend that he isn't wealthy and he hasn't been privileged and he hasn't led the kind of life he's lived, and trying to behave like an average Joe, which then puts him off center, which for me is why he has so many of the gaffes that he has, is because he's trying to be something that he simply isn't.
Oh, that is very interesting. I hadn't considered that point or that perspective, and it's very intuitive. We are speaking with Kathleen Schafer of the Leadership Connection. You know, one of the other questions that I was wondering about, Obama, isn't being a good leader at times being able to lead those who disagree with you, being able to maybe not convince others to share your beliefs, but to see value in them, to at least be open to those ideas. I don't personally see that with Obama. Am I misunderstanding or maybe not perceptive enough to see what's going on there?
No, I think you're right. What I find with people is that when we aren't comfortable enough with who we are, we don't believe enough in our own talents, our strengths, our values that we're bringing forward, and we try and hide them, it becomes then much more difficult to connect with others. And for President Obama, this was a man who won election, and again, if we all remember back to his primary, was a huge underdog against the political Clinton machine. He won that primary and went on to win the election because he was talking from his heart. He was the real person. I sincerely believe that he did hold those values and those visions when he was campaigning. The problem for him has been that he was told that you can't be that and be president. And so all of his political interactions with the other leaders in Washington and with the public as well has now been clouded by him trying to pretend to hold certain other values or ways of looking at things that aren't really consistent with his own.
That's, again, you know, very perceptive, and I was wondering if that's if that's what your opinion would be, because I think when I see him out on this campaign trail, when he's talking to individuals or groups of individuals, we see that side of him, that challenging the Republicans, admitting at face value what his beliefs are, not hiding from anything and being just more comfortable. I feel like that's the leader I want to be presiding over this country, not the Obama that kind of is wishy-washy about a lot of ideas.
Absolutely. And this is part of the problem, is that we get all of these advisors and consultants and everyone around our elected officials who say, if you want to win again, this is what you need to do. And they try and think about what it is that they think that the public wants, as opposed to looking at the fact that in the end, what people really want is somebody who is willing to be open and honest with them, even if it isn't always what we want to hear. I mean, ultimately, the problem with our public policy, and actually the subject of my next blog, is the fact that we want all of these problems to be solved at somebody else's expense. Well, and that's never going to happen. We need leaders who are willing to stand up, say that, and call people to a higher level of engagement and to commitment to solving these problems, even if it's not as comfortable for us as we may want it to be.
Unfortunately, for the sake of our country, I think you're right, and I think people are going to have to realize that there's more compromise than either side wants to give into.
Kathleen, Shane here, co-hosting with Danielle. I have a question on that, though, because if you have, essentially, we have a two-party system, and you have two people, a Democrat and a Republican, running for a seat. One of them comes out and says, honestly, to fix this, there has to be some kind of shared sacrifice. You know, the other guy's not going to bear the entire burden of this solution. But then you have the person on the other side that says, no, they've been told by their advisors, you can't talk about that. Wouldn't it be obvious that the person who's essentially lying is going to win?
Well, I mean, this is the mutual assured destruction that we have in our current political system is, well, you can't tell people the truth because the other person will tell them what they want to hear and then they'll win.
Right.
And the problem that we've got is that until the public is willing to see through all of it, on both sides, we're not going to solve or address these issues. You know, Obama came in with a fair amount of public support. Granted, there was those on the right who were absolutely against him. And instead of having the conversation about health care as an example in a way that maybe would have asked all of us to think about it in a different way and let go of the idea of I'm going to do this in a way that's going to, quote unquote, assure my reelection, he probably would have made greater strides in the policy, would have had higher public approval ratings, and would have a much easier time than he's going to have in this election.
It's very interesting, and not to, I would never ask you to take sides or say who you're supporting here, but do you think that one of these men, Obama or Romney, is clearly a better leader, is somebody that the opponent should watch out for in terms of this election?
The idea of having a better leader or a worse leader is one that I do not like to say. I think everyone, not just people who are in office or in positions of authority, but each one of us has leadership potential. At this point, we have seen more authenticity from President Obama than we've seen from Governor Romney. And for that reason alone, I would say at this point, he will be the one who will ultimately win this election. The challenge, of course, is to get to your point, who's the better leader? Who is actually going to serve in office in that real, authentic way and actually get to real-world results remains to be seen because, again, President Obama hasn't exhibited as much of that while governing as he does while campaigning.
I could not agree more.
I guess second terms are lend themselves better to more authenticity because you're not worrying about it again.
Exactly.
Correct, and we can only hope that he will take that tact and that he will have other leaders in Congress who will work with him on that. I mean, granted, it is a difficult challenge when you have the Senate Majority Leader coming out and saying our highest priority for this term is to defeat President Obama. That doesn't put us on the road to creative solutions and effective governing.
It doesn't, but it does make my mind after, speaking with you, does that make Mitch McConnell a good leader? Where he is being authentic, and as much as we don't like to hear what he's talking about, he has led the Republican Party and all of the Congress to support that idea. So maybe that makes him a good leader.
Well, granted, I think you're right in that he is doing what he said. For me, part of the quality of authenticity is about the idea of creating solutions and actually addressing issues and making progress. And to me, the authenticity doesn't hold when you have an anti-against agenda. If he had come out and said, it is our highest priority to ensure that X, Y, Z, that's a different story. But when you're against something, it's actually, again, hiding who you truly are because all we can see is what you're against as opposed to what you're for.
Well, very well said. Kathleen Schafer, would you tell us a little bit about Leadership Connection? I've obviously asked all of our listeners to go and check out leadershipconnection.net, but how did you get the program started, and what are you getting the most involved in right now?
Well, I come out of the political process and being a political consultant, and what has driven me toward this work is the idea that ultimately the problems that we are facing as a society are not going to be solved until each one of us assumes responsibility for ourselves and contributing to the solution. So in the last 5, 6, 7 years in particular, I focused a lot of my work on one-on-one, working with individuals, helping them to identify their talents, their strengths, their passion, and how to most effectively put that out into the world. And I also do a great deal of teaching both at George Washington University and to people throughout the world, many political leaders, helping them to understand how they can most effectively bring their authentic leadership into the political process to create real change.
Well, and on top of all of that, you have time to write an amazing blog, which is also available at leadershipconnection.net. I really did enjoy it, I have to say. I started to, do my research and learn about you, and I got stuck and couldn't stop reading your blog.
I can attest to
this.
this.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I really did.
I can attest to this. I was just like, this is a great blog. It was a very high endorsement because sometimes you're like, I don't know about this. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking time with us, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to speak with you again.
I look forward to it. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks so much, Kathleen. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye. Kathleen Schafer, everyone. Great site, leadershipconnection.net. Lots to learn there, and I'm telling you, you'll really like her blog. She's got a lot of insight into stuff.
Very noble.
Yes.
Aspirations are very noble, and it's very hard for the cynic like me to not ask those types of questions. I apologize. But,
Well, we're going to go ahead and run to a longer break now since we've kind of skipped a few. We're trying to make up for lost time since we lost you guys for a few minutes. Hopefully everybody will bear with us, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shane.
This is going to be fun.
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
It's Thursday, August 16, 2012.
Across America, we built the equivalent of 12 new Hoover dams worth of wind energy. Think about that. Think about that.
Obama highlights clean energy.
If you don't believe in coal, if you don't believe in energy independence for America, then say it.
While Romney promotes coal.
I've been here for 25 years, and it hurts.
Wildfires rage across the West. A nuclear reactor in hot water. Plus, mutant butterflies. Yep, mutant butterflies.
All of that and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
This is a time for truth.
Omit. Why start now? This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, all summer long we have been talking about wildfires across the West, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, and now still more breaking out in Washington today.
Yes, Washington State and Oregon as wildfires continue to blaze across the West.
Oh, there goes another one.
Another one.
So my house is gone and all my little dogs are dead.
The latest major wildfire is in Kittitas County, 80 miles east of Seattle, that's destroyed at least 60 homes. 70 wind-driven wildfires are now raging across 14 states right now. Thousands evacuated, hundreds of homes destroyed, over 6 million acres have burned this season so far, turning out to be one of the worst fire seasons on record.
One of the worst fire seasons in the hottest summer on record in the U.S. so far.
And you know, the impact of that record heat has continued to exacerbate the record drought across the country. Now 70% of the country is in severe drought conditions, and it's affecting the Mississippi River, which last year saw historic floods. It's now too low. Shipping barges have been halted on some stretches after several barges ran aground due to low water. The record heat has also highlighted a vulnerability of nuclear power generation. A reactor in Connecticut was shut down over the weekend after the temperature of the seawater in Long Island Sound became too hot to be used for cooling the reactor.
Of the seawater?
In the Sound, yes.
Wow.
In politics, energy policy was the focus of the presidential campaign this week. President Obama again highlighted the growth of clean energy jobs in Iowa, where wind power now generates 20% of Iowa's electricity needs.
Governor Romney said, let's end the tax credits for wind energy production. Let's get rid of them. He said that new sources of energy like wind are imaginary. His running mate calls them a fad.
President Obama called again for eliminating billions in taxpayer subsidies for the oil industry.
So I want to stop giving $4 billion in taxpayer subsidies that are going to oil companies that are making huge profits and have been subsidized for 100 years, and let's keep on investing in the new homegrown energy that's creating jobs right here in Iowa.
In contrast, presumptive Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney and his running mate, Wisconsin Representative Paul Ryan, do want to keep those billion-dollar taxpayer subsidies for the oil industry, and they oppose renewing that crucial federal wind energy tax credit that expires at the end of this year. At a campaign stop in Ohio, Romney blamed new air pollution standards for a decline in coal power generation.
This is a time for truth. If you don't believe in coal, if you don't believe in energy independence for America, then say it.
Energy analysts say it's actually utilities that are choosing to go with cheaper natural gas. Romney also made this promise.
But by the end of my second term,
The end of his second term.
I make this commitment. We will have America. We will have North American energy independence. We won't have to buy oil from Venezuela and the Middle East. We're going to be independent.
Now, notice what he did there. Romney didn't say American. He said North American energy.
As in Canada.
Yes, that's exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about importing Canada's dirty tar sands oil with the controversial Keystone XL pipeline. I'm sorry, Governor Romney, but Canada still counts as foreign. Watch for that misleading phrase to pop up a lot more.
Good catch.
This week, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office found that ending those oil industry taxpayer subsidies would do far more to reduce the deficit than any possible revenue from the Republicans' plan to expand domestic oil and gas drilling. Finally, in Japan, scientists are finding, quote, severe mutations in butterflies collected near the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The researchers expected to see a high rate of deformities in butterflies that they collected soon after the nuclear reactor meltdown back in March 2011, but they didn't expect to see even more deformities in subsequent descendants of those butterflies. It's a troubling sign, they say, that long-term genetic damage from radiation exposure can be inherited.
Japan?
Japan.
Butterflies?
Yes.
Genetic damage from nuclear plants?
Yes.
This isn't going to end well. For more on that story and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check out our website. You better do it quickly, by the way, at greennews.bradblog.com. While you're there, please consider a donation to help sponsor the Green News Report so we can keep telling you the truth over your public airwaves. From bradblog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
謎の島インファント島に潜航した科学人の使命はモスラの力を借りに来たんです。モスラの力貸せん。
皆さんの人間不信の気持ちはよくわかります。
You're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shane. It is one of those times in the show where we need to break up the monotony and get some more silly or interesting material from Mr. Shane.
Trust me, this one is not breaking up the monotony.
Oh, no? What do you got for us, Shane?
Bleep Mr. G sends me.
Oh, the bleep Mr. G sends you. We need the bleep sound effects.
Yeah, I will get to it. I'll get to it. Now, did we set this up 2 weeks ago in terms of what this is? This segment.
We did, but why don't you refresh everybody for anybody who wasn't
Mr. G is a
listening?
family friend, and actually I call him Mr. G, so we're not divulging anyone's identity.
No.
But all of us, whether you're liberal, you have family members and friends that send you conservative emails, those Shane emails. If you're a conservative, then you send them and receive them.
Then you're responsible for the bleep Mr. G
We
says.
thought years ago that those chain emails where if you send it to 5 other people, you'll have good luck were annoying. But these ones are crazy. And I'm sure you all have come across these. So I get a lot of them from Mr. G. And for a very long time, for a little while I read them. Then I started ignoring them.
But you can't.
No, I can. I have no problem. I just don't read them. But now that it's become a segment, I read them all. And now I'm responding to every single one.
I'm sure they love that.
I can't wait to see him around Labor Day.
Is that why maybe he took you off of the whole CC list and everybody's now blind CC'd?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were responding to everybody?
Well, no, I wasn't. I only did that once.
Oh, sure.
I did.
Sure.
I only did that once.
Okay. What does he have for us this time?
This week they're ecstatic on the right because a famed Democratic strategist has come out and he has laid out exactly what's going to happen in this election, and he's a Democrat, and that Mitt Romney is going to win. Ryan was the best pick ever. The Senate is going to be the Republicans. The House is going to get a bigger majority, and it comes from a Democrat. So
My goodness, who is this Democrat
Dick
that
Morris.
Excuse me?
Dick Morris.
Dick Morris?
Yes. So in other words,
noted.
Well, yeah, prostitute,
yeah,
toe sucker.
yeah.
Yes, but so I didn't even bother listening to what was on the video. I know it's on the video. He's on Sean Hannity's show every single night. It's the only show I think he can get on anymore.
I think so. He's like Hannity's best friend.
Oh, but he just says exactly what Hannity wants to hear. Truth be damned. This is the guy. So I knew what Dick Morris was, what he is, but I did a little more research and wrote a nice long email to let Mr. G, and hopefully he'll pass this along to all his concerned. No, probably not.
And what was your response?
I got no response. But I did some research on Dick Morris because actually there's some things I did not know about him. Well, first of all, the email went into all of Dick Morris's background, that he helped Bill Clinton get elected to the Arkansas governor. He was a Democratic strategist that helped Bill Clinton get elected.
This is all information from Mr. G.
Well, from the email that Mr. G forwarded.
Okay.
Arkansas governor 3 times. He got Clinton elected twice. And he's a Democratic strategist that appears on Fox News. Okay. None of that's right.
I'm so shocked by that.
None of that is correct. Now, I thought even just for a short period of time he was considered a Democratic strategist. He was never. First of all, he's a Republican strategist. While he knew Bill Clinton and talked to him when he was in Arkansas, never worked with Bill Clinton in Arkansas, never helped on his gubernatorial elections. Bill Clinton's first election was not involved in that one bit. He was hired by the Clinton administration after Clinton was elected the first time, brought into the White House for the sole purpose of figuring out a way to triangulate.
So he was brought on as a Republican strategist.
Right, because Bill Clinton, and we all know this, and some people jump up and down and say, yay, Bill, and some like me say, Bill.
Well, even as a Republican strategist, though, Dick Morris hasn't had the greatest track record for predictions.
But triangulation, what he was brought in, Bill Clinton knew what the Democratic side was. He wanted to figure out how he could take the Democratic side and the Republican position, have them both. So Dick Morris was there to give him the Republican position that wouldn't piss off the Democrats and the Democratic position that wouldn't piss off the Republicans.
So he was essentially there to do exactly what our last great guest, Kathleen Schafer, warned about doing, is not being himself.
Right.
Interesting.
But it did get him reelected and got us, deregulation of banks, and it got us NAFTA and all kinds of fun things like that. But to say that Dick Morris is somehow a Democratic strategist who has seen the light and that Republicans are the best things in this apple pie is wrong, Mr. G. Again.
Well, that from Bleep Mr. G says, very interesting, Shane. Thank you. And that was way more information than I ever needed to know about Dick Morris.
Well, at least I didn't get into who he wrote his personal checks for.
No, we didn't need those details. We're going to run to a very quick break, and we're going to come back and get into Biden's latest comment. Do you think it was wrong for him to use the chains metaphor? We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shane.
Holy crap! We'll have more on these new developments after this. It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks.
I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not.
Radio or Not.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
Never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Bill Maher, you're here in Miami on Friday night. You're doing a show at the Fillmore at the Jackie Gleason Theater. They just renamed this theater the Fillmore. And they put up a couple of psychedelic posters. So I guess...
Was it the theater Jackie did his TV show from?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What I hear they did is put up 2 of those old Bill Graham posters and renamed it.
Yeah, I can't think of 2 different icons of show business.
Yeah, really.
Bill Graham and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, why they just didn't play up the Jackie Gleason aspect, I don't know. But then again, this is South Florida.
Right. Okay.
Welcome to it.
I feel warned.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
Hi, this is Kenny Pick from Turn Up the Night. Here are some of the hijinks you can expect from my show.
That right-wing Republican from Texas was only helping Dennis because he thought Dennis would be easier for Joe the plumber to beat than
Wow.
Ken.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, a pet rock would have been better candidate than Joe the plumber. I think he might actually have been a pet rock before he was a non-plumber. So, but he was a union pet rock, never mind. Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick, streaming live every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern at Radio or Not, Talk Radio 1, Progressive Blend Radio, and KennyPick.com.
You know that the ice cream scoop has the power to make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the golf tee brings friends together, that the mailbox keeps them connected. You know that the cataract laser helps you look to the future, while the pacemaker ensures that there's a future to be seen. You know that the lawnmower, the clothes dryer, and the elevator make life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. You know that these things we count on every day started as ideas. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Please visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
CNN, ESPN, ABC, BCB, TNT, but mostly BS.
This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Welcome back to Talking Left. Thank you guys for listening wherever you're checking us out. Of course, SoFlo Radio, Progressive Blend Radio, Talk Radio 1, or maybe our home sweet home over on radioornot.com. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast for free on iTunes and subscribe to our new YouTube channel as well, YouTube.com/Talking Left. So many of us have heard Joe Biden's comments and him discussing about put y'all back in chains. And I wanted to think about this a little. You know, was his comment racist? Was it racial? Was it over the top for him to use the chains metaphor? You know, what are we thinking here? I think it was definitely racial. It was clearly a racial metaphor.
It's interesting because I'm glad you broke that out into two questions. Was it racist? Was it racial? Because I found that the response from the Democrats really wholly without really facing what he said. Now, I think people are going to be interested to hear what we think about this, or at least what I think about it. We haven't completely fleshed this all out in terms of how we agree and disagree on this one. But their answer, when everyone brings it up, there's not a racist bone in Joe Biden's body.
I don't think the comment was racist.
Right. But it was using a metaphor associated with slavery.
Yes.
Now, there's slavery all over. There's slavery right now. But when they're saying in that particular place with that particular crowd in this particular country, slavery means a very specific thing. And to use that metaphor was therefore racial. So that's, but the Obama administration, well, he's not a racist. Well, but you can still make a racial metaphor that some people would object to.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think they have a valid
I think they have a valid argument, but not necessarily the correct outcome.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody thinks that Biden actually meant corporations were going to sit and put Americans in slavery. It was a metaphor. You know, did he perhaps mean it in a different sense?
Certainly not. Well, did he mean it in the sense of American slavery, our tradition of American slavery, where we only enslave a certain race?
Right. I don't believe that he meant it in that.
Because it was
form.
a metaphor.
It was a metaphor. But Although none of us can get into Joe Biden's head and know exactly what he was thinking.
That would be fun if we could.
There's a lot of curse words in there, I bet. Could he have perhaps been talking about economic slavery? Something that I think all of us know quite well. You know, are we really free in this country if we have to continue working at a dead-end job so that we can pay student loans and make sure our credit score doesn't go up or down, rather? Is that really free? Does that really allow us to make the type of choices that we would want to make in life? I don't think so.
Particularly the school loan.
It's indentured servitude.
It is, and when you have especially for recent graduates, who, or just within the last couple of years, they went into college. You've taken on the risk of this debt.
Yeah.
School loans. There are predatory lenders out there. Thankfully, some of them have been gotten rid of. They're only government now. But you have this debt. You are laden with this debt. You can never get rid of this debt. Not dischargeable. And then when you come out, oh yeah, oops, the bankers screwed up your economy. So now we have really high unemployment. It's a employer's market, so they're not going to pay you jack. But if you don't make your payments, we're going to blow up your credit rating.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to get an apartment. Anything,
and now you're not even going to be able to get a better job because now a lot of employers are checking your credit.
Right. Well, sure, if you're going to be handling money or things like that, I can understand why you would do that.
It's for jobs that even don't require that.
Well, because it's an employer's market. They can be as discerning as they want to, and they've got 1,000 applicants for one position. So are you really, is this economic slavery then? Was he talking about, because they were talking about unshackling businesses. That's what spawned it, unshackling businesses. Now, obviously, businesses are not enslaved in this country.
No, I'd say they're freer, if that's the correct word, than the average citizen.
They whine that Obama hates business and all that. So they're saying, we want to unshackle business. I would not call what they said racist. He was extending the metaphor and saying, and when he said put y'all back in chains, I think he was referring specifically to the regulations. And y'all, by the way, that audience was not 100% black.
And y'all is not a notoriously just black word.
No, it's used in the South quite a bit. And on top of it, y'all would be regular citizens who now have a little bit more protection under some financial reforms that they want to repeal. That would be y'all back in economic slavery.
I just, they say that freedom is about small business with no regulations. That freedom is this new American dream of starting a small business and growing it into something huge and making millions and millions of dollars, which is completely.
It's a new
American dream. It's
right.
Not
it started in the 80s.
Right. It's not the 50s and 60s American dream of working for a good big company in a union or small, but making a decent living wage where you could perhaps buy a house.
You work from 18 to retirement in the same place.
Exactly. Stay there for years, get good benefits. That was the American dream.
Have a vacation.
Now it's this lottery mentality.
Yeah, that you have the opportunity to go out there and have the next great idea, be the next Steve Jobs and become a billionaire. The lottery mentality, that's now the American dream. And people have bought it.
Right. And I just don't think Joe Biden's comment of put y'all back in chains had anything to do. He may not have even been speaking about what we're speaking about. But I think his comment was dead on. I don't think it was racial. I think, if anything, it was economic.
He was using a racial metaphor to talk about an economic situation in which essentially 99% of the people are in some form of economic slavery. Because the average person, as much as we'd love to go out and start the next great business, a lot of us have great... Why? Because
you're stuck at that dead-end job, so you can...
And that dead-end job, most people that I know that are talking, when I talk to you right now, no one complains about their job anymore. No. Because the first thing out of their mouth is, I'm just happy to have one.
Yep.
And on top of it, if you were to go do that, you lose...
health benefits.
Every type of benefit you could possibly need, some kind of safety you lose, and the likelihood of that success. Okay, let's go start up a mom and pop grocery store in our town. Good luck with that. Walmart will squash you like a bug.
But in their eyes, in the Republicans' eyes, Walmart should have no regulations. That's the free market at work.
It's not.
Well, and are those people who want to start that small business, are they really free to do so?
No.
I would say that they're chained, confined by the economic system the Republicans keep pushing on us.
I agree. And the fact that, you know, they talk about all these regulations. First of all, most regulations when it comes to business aren't even enforced. Look at the Bush administration.
Right.
There have been some enforcement during the Obama administration. That's what's driving him absolutely bonkers batty. But how many antitrust lawsuits are we seeing out of this Justice Department? Exactly.
I think there was one, wasn't there?
There's been one or two here or there. Yeah. You know what I would like to do, Danielle? I want to go start an oil company.
Good luck with that, Shane.
Okay, all right. I
You're
understand.
free to do so, according to the Republicans. In fact, they want to make you more free by reducing regulations.
The only thing in my way is a regular. Okay, so we won't start. Let's start an airline.
Those darn regulations again. We got to tear those down. You're not free.
It's the regulations themselves that prevent it.
It's
and the lack of enforcement of, I should say.
Right. Exactly.
The regulations are all there. Read them.
The regulations are all there. You know, they constantly talk about freedom. The Republicans.
Liberty.
Choice. The American dream. American exceptionalism. All of these nonsensical phrases that really, if you boil it down, they apply to business. Cutting regulations, cutting taxes, cutting entire
regulatory schemas.
Regulatory agencies like the FDA. Thank you, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, corporations don't need the help. They have plenty of money. They have the best social safety net in the world.
Yeah,
it's called Congress.
Really, if we fail, we're done.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see an individual get too big to fail bailout. And hey, even when Congress has tried to enact things to help us, like the emergency mortgage programs and, you know, extending unemployment benefits and welfare, the Republicans are right there to block them, terminate them, and make matters even worse to make us even less free, in my opinion. But they're doing it in the name of freedom. How does that work exactly?
Well, if you ask the audience that loves Ron Paul so much, it's you're free to go die.
Yeah, that's right. You're free to die.
You know, because the only thing that should determine your outcome is your decisions. But every one of your decisions are made within an economy, within a society, within a structure that an individual person, I know it's great to think that we can change the world, but only with a lot of other help, with a lot of other people. So you're in a structure, in a society where the structure of it is such that it's very, very difficult, and they want to make it more and more difficult.
But they do it in the name of freedom.
But when it comes right down to it, doesn't make individuals more free in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It actually becomes economic slavery.
Absolutely.
Where we'll be all back in chains.
You know, FDR said himself that a man who, you know, isn't free to have health care, housing.
A person who doesn't have a good paying job is not free.
No.
A person who does not have health care is not free. A person who can't provide for their family is not free.
Because every decision you have to make is dependent on on your survival, and it's dependent on those other conditions that are often beyond your control. And when anybody tries to actually change the system to help us, to make it better, the Republicans are right there backing them. I mean, couldn't that be what Joe Biden's comment stood for?
And shouldn't he have gone a little further and actually explained it? I don't like the backtracking on this. I think it's an excellent way of putting it.
I agree.
Slavery was a terrible, stain on our history, an awful thing that occurred, and that we still have the repercussions from. And it will take a very long time if we ever can completely fix and make anyone whole over that. We're doing it again. It's not based on race now. It's based on class.
Yeah.
And you're going to yell class warfare.
You're damn right it is.
But it is a situation in which they want to put. It's not even that they want. I think I really believe in their hearts they're part of the 1% who either were born into it or somehow hit that lottery, and everyone can do that. And they really do want that for everyone, but they haven't really thought it through. That really what they're doing is protecting their own wealth and saying you can do it too. Go.
My personal beliefs is that they don't. They don't believe a word of it. That they believe it's a zero-sum game. And that the pie is only so big, and any dollar that goes to you or I is one less that they can hoard away in their Swiss bank account. It's just my opinion.
Maybe. Yeah,
and
that website.
These nonsense comments that Joe Biden is racist for saying this.
No.
The Republicans, the 1%, they don't give a damn about race anymore. If you're a multimillionaire, you could be purple, and you'd still be their best friend. But if you're poor, that's a different story. Then they have a problem with you. Then you are in a different class. You must not work for a living. You must not want it enough. And they don't consider that maybe you're stuck in that position because of the economic slavery conditions that they've created. Nobody in their right minds thought corporations were going to put people in chains. It was a metaphor. Yes, it was a racial metaphor. But it was an apt one.
Yes. And by the way, there's been all kinds of slavery all across the world. It isn't just our American brand of what we did.
Yes, that's true.
Slavery is a very specific thing.
Well,
which means the absolute lack of liberty, and we are not free to actually have economic security, health security, family security, with a system that they love and want to make even worse.
Well, hopefully, as people get angrier and wake up to the situation that's been created, things will change. Things will have to change. People can only bend so far before they push back. And I think we're approaching that point. I'm not saying...
pushing back with the vote.
Yes. I was just about to say the same thing.
Because
not
they
pushing back.
They can dump tons of money into Congress, but they can't dump tons of votes. As long as we keep on top of the voting machines.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and run to a break and lighten things up a bit with some more funny or interesting stories that Shane has not shared with me yet. I bet it'll be a good one.
No, actually, this one's going to be a lot like what we were just talking about.
Oh, goodness gracious. These are supposed to be funny stories, Shane.
No, they're not.
Funny stories.
There's a flow.
We'll be right back here on Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shane. Don't go anywhere. More great guests and information coming up next.
Everyone expected just a piece of fluff, but we wanted to do something important. Issue stuff.
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
It's Tuesday, August 21, 2012.
This has been a very busy year so far, going from one fire to the other.
It's official. Worst fire season ever.
The female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
Congressman Todd Akin, one of many anti-science Republicans on the US House Science Committee. More industrial farming animal abuse. China ventures into the Arctic. Plus, brain-eating amoebas in Oklahoma.
Sounds delicious. All of that and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
During a speech a few months ago, Governor Romney even explained his energy policy this way. I'm quoting here. You can't drive a car with a windmill on it. I don't know if he's actually tried that. I know he's had other things on his car.
Well, meow, Mr. President. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Des, before we get started today, some business, welcoming aboard a few new affiliate partners. The Shannon Moore Show joins the Green News Report, as heard on Fox News Talk Radio, KOAN AM 1020 and 95.5 FM in Anchorage, Alaska. Yes, you heard me right. Fox News Radio. Glad to have him aboard.
Awesome.
And also heard on We Act Radio, WPWC, 1480 AM in Washington, D.C. That's right. The Green News Report is now heard in our nation's capital.
About time, you might say.
I agree. What do you have for us today, Des?
Well, you've probably heard about the controversial comments about rape made by Representative Todd Akin, a Missouri Republican from the House of Representatives, who's now locked in a tight campaign for a Missouri Senate seat against the incumbent conservative Democrat Claire McCaskill.
No, I hadn't heard about him. What did he say?
Well, essentially, Akin believes that there's some kind of secret spermicidal formula that women secretly contain that enables them to somehow prevent pregnancy from occurring if there is a rape, and of course that is complete and utter bunk. Akin is a Tea Party Republican who's also a climate change denier who rejects the global scientific consensus that the Earth is warming and humans are primarily responsible.
So he believes in non-existent science, that women can stop themselves from being impregnated by using their awesome mind powers, and yet he doesn't believe in actual existing science telling us that the globe is warming at an alarming rate.
That's correct. And what's even worse is Akin is a member of the House Committee on Science, which writes legislation and allocates federal funding for science and research. Federal regulators have shut down a California slaughterhouse after receiving yet another undercover video showing abuse and torture of sick animals. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Inspector General on Monday suspended operations at Central Meat Company in Hanford, California, after finding evidence of, quote, egregious, inhumane handling and treatment of livestock. The undercover video of abuse was released by the animal welfare group Compassion Over Killing. State legislatures in Iowa and Utah this year have passed legislation criminalizing the undercover videotaping of animal abuse.
Not criminalizing the abuse, but criminalizing the videotaping of the abuse?
That's correct.
Unbelievable.
It's official. July 2012 was the fourth warmest July on record for the entire planet. Now, in the U.S., July was the hottest month ever in U.S. history, but globally, so far, this July was only the fourth warmest ever recorded. The Arctic is also seeing that persistent heat, causing near-record melting. Scientists at the U.S. National Snow and Ice Data Center say that satellite measurements so far this summer show that ice cover in the Arctic is now approaching the all-time record low set back in 2007. And that has several countries vying for access to the mineral and energy riches buried beneath the Arctic Ocean.
The race is on.
Indeed it is. For the first time ever, the Chinese have sent a ship into the Arctic Ocean, an icebreaker ship that they say is on a scientific expedition, and it has become the first Chinese ship to cross the now open Arctic Ocean. Thousands have been evacuated as wind-driven wildfires threaten rural towns across the Mountain West in California and Idaho. The relentless fire season is exhausting fire crews, says Daniel Berlant from the state agency Cal Fire.
We have over 1,400 firefighters this morning battling this fire. This has been a very busy year so far.
So can we connect the dots then between the record heat this summer, the record drought this summer, the record fires this summer? Can we connect all of those dots to global warming?
Yes, climate scientists have predicted an increase in the wildfire season, and now it is official. 2012 just broke the record for the biggest U.S. wildfire season ever. According to the National Interagency Fire Center on Monday, wildfires have burned a record amount of acreage in the U.S., nearly 7 million acres. Finally, the drought and heat waves this summer have another unpleasant side effect, brain-eating amoebas. Okay, they don't actually eat your brain, but state officials are warning Oklahoma residents to be careful when swimming in freshwater lakes and rivers due to a particular kind of amoeba that thrives in warm, fresh water that causes a very particular kind of fatal encephalitis, or swelling of the brain.
Ouch. For more on that story and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget, you can download us anytime on iTunes. You can listen to us on your smart device via Stitcher Radio. Follow us 24/7 on the Twitters at Green News Report, and now even on Facebook. Head on over there and look up Green News Report. You'll find us. Please like us while you're there. From bradblog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
There's not enough rain in Oklahoma to wash the sins out of that house. There's not enough wind in Oklahoma
You're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Well, welcome back to Talking Left. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. It's again another awesome time where Shano is going to fill us in on something. Is it funny or serious or interesting this time, Shano?
Actually, I changed my mind in that break because I was listening to the Green News Report.
Oh, okay.
And yes, Brad, actually listen. Actually, this is kind of a cool article. It's a recent study. It's published in the Journal of Hazardous Materials. And it's a possible way of dealing with greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, please share.
Essentially what they've figured out is if you take urine and you turn it into, hang on, let me make sure, because this is all chemistry stuff here. You want ammonium bicarbonate. So it's a small amount of ammonia, which can absorb 1 mole of atmospheric CO2. So small amount of ammonia can absorb CO2. And what they are essentially doing is they mix it with a little bit of olive oil, and they use it, this bicarbonate, as a fertilizer. They use it a lot in China. And it's a way that you use it in the soil for getting, hang on one second, considered it's a K or NPK fertilizer, ammonium nitrate phosphorus potassium fertilizer that also absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere.
My mind reels as to how somebody figured this out, but I'm not going to go there.
Well, chemists, and they said, if you can change over some of our waste filtration systems to, instead of disposing of it the way it's disposed of now, converting it, using it, the olive oil to preserve it, using it as a fertilizer, you could reduce CO2 emissions by up to 1% by absorbing it.
So essentially, if
like
they
on
put
trees.
more ammonia bicarbonate, is that?
Yeah, essentially it's for every molecule or urea, 1 mole of ammonium bicarbonate is produced, along with 1 mole of ammonia, which can be used to absorb 1 mole of atmospheric CO2.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm a little perplexed on how we go about implementing such a measure. But
you apply
hey,
it to basic calcium-rich soils. It produces calcium carbonate, thus encouraging gas fixation in the ground. So I'm an all of the above kind of guy.
Oh, absolutely. I am all for it if it helps. I just am afraid that I can visualize people going out and running and peeing in soil thinking it's going to save the atmosphere.
Probably not.
They would need to preserve the ammonia. Now,
yeah.
why couldn't they use standard ammonia? That you can buy at a grocery store.
I believe that they already do that, but it's a way to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Because what are you going to do with otherwise? Okay, let's do football.
Okay, football. It's almost football season.
It's Michigan, not Michigan Wolverines football.
And you're talking about another football team?
No, but it is in Michigan. It's a Oxford, Michigan.
Okay.
They have a blue turf, which is a whole other issue because that's been copyrighted by Boise State. But they built a new stadium. And because they could not get, they had to get a massive loan in order to back up the bonds to pay for this stadium.
Right.
So private homes, these really great boosters of the football program, offered up their homes as collateral for this loan.
Oh, no.
And they can't come up with the money. They're going to lose their homes for the stadium. One of the people who
Now, is this college football?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah. And one of them is a Detroit Lions senior vice president for communications. They took a $400,000 loan backed by private collateral with only 1 year to pay off the debt. Schools only raised $100,000.
So this was a private loan that actually...
It was a public loan, but it was secured by private property.
But why would they only have 1 year to pay off the debt?
I don't know. The bank.
I would say that bank's name should be like a...
I know, it's football. It's football.
But that's It seems like some predatory lending tactics.
I don't know.
1 year?
Well, it's not you're not loaning it to an individual. You know, $400,000 to pay back on a loan for a large university probably isn't that big a loan.
That's true. Well, we wish them the best, and hopefully they can get the money together so people don't lose their homes.
Yeah, I agree. So,
okay.
Not a good football story, but football starts up week from Saturday.
Woohoo!
I cannot wait.
We're going to come right back with Wanda Rohl. She is running for Congress in Illinois' 16th District. Go and check out her website. Donate if you can at Rohl, R-O-H-L, for Congress.com. We're going to be right back with her coming up after this break, so stick around.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks from the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide, and you're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Hi, this is Tim Cormall from The Tim Cormall Show. Join me and my guests most weeks for a progressive roundtable discussion about politics, news, and other fun topics. We laugh a lot about the hilarious antics of the right-wing nutjobs, as well as have serious discussions about issues affecting all of our lives. You can check out The Tim Cormall Show at timcormall.com, where you can subscribe to the show for free in iTunes by searching for The Tim Cormall Show. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Tim Cormall. That's C-O-R-R-I-M-A-L. So come on over and join in the fun at timcormall.com.
Unfiltered truth, news, and opinion. Filter-free radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott. Live every Monday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Radio or not. And filterfreeradio.com.
People don't think critically anymore. Just to examine or critique the system, the culture, political assumptions, things that they see on TV. I mean, whatever happened to the saying, oh, don't believe everything you see or hear?
Live every Monday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Your view is not being represented in this country because all of our views have been corrupted by money and politics. Remember, 94% of the time, the candidate who raises the most money wins.
That's the fact that we need to drive home constantly. It's all about the money. Dylan Radigan, you rock.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime.
Fresh from their star-studded performance in Hollywood.
They drummed you right out of Hollywood.
The year's hottest political show, the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour, is finally coming to the city that never sleeps, New York.
So you come crawling back to Broadway. Well, Broadway doesn't go for booze and dope.
On October 27th, the eve of Election 2012, the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour will take the stage at Broadway's world-famous Beacon Theater.
There is nothing like the thrill of doing a live show on Broadway.
Featuring John Fugelsang, Hal Sparks, Aisha Tyler,
Sexy lady,
and Stephanie Miller. For tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com or call 866-858-0008. Don't miss your one and only chance to see all the Sexy Liberal Comedy players live on one stage. That's the Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour at the Beacon Theater.
I love New York. You know why? Because it's open all night.
Hey, Dad, how do you throw a curveball? How do you build a fort? How do refrigerators run? How do fish learn how to swim?
Kids ask a lot of questions.
How high can you jump?
But you don't have to know every answer.
How many phone numbers are there?
Because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent.
How do cell phones work?
There are thousands of children in foster care who don't need every question answered.
What's electricity?
They just need you.
What's the moon made of?
For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Yes, you are. Welcome back to Talking Left. Thanks so much for tuning in. As promised, we have a great progressive, wonderful guest on the phone, Wanda Rohl, running for Congress in Illinois' 16th District. ROHL for Congress on Twitter and rollforcongress.com. Wanda, thank you so much for taking time with us for tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's an honor to talk to you. You are running for Congress in Illinois' 16th District against Adam Kinzinger. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Kinzinger, yeah. He's
Kinzinger.
a Tea Party freshman, Adam Kinzinger.
And he is a co-sponsor on the infamous H.R. 3, the forcible rape legislation.
Yes. He's co-sponsored many questionable bills that have been proposed over the last 2 years. Campaigned on jobs, and the only job that they're concerned about is the one going on in the female body.
Yeah, pretty much. I keep saying, John Boehner, look somewhere else. There's no jobs in my uterus.
Exactly. That's what I say.
Well,
Look elsewhere.
you are what I consider a true progressive. The issues site on your page is just like check, 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 strengthening the social safety net, encouraging people to buy America, and strengthening public education. It goes on and on and on. Very impressive and so refreshing to see a real, true progressive out there running for office.
Oh, thank you. I apologize for the background noise. I just got out of a meet and greet, so we're outside because there was no reception inside. Yeah, you know what? When I got hurt 9 years ago, I had a full-time job, a part-time job, private health insurance, and I lost all of that because I'm now a T6 paraplegic. I ended up on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, and like I said, 9 years later, I'm not on any of those programs because I used them the way you're supposed to. The system is broken. But who better to have work it than somebody who's navigated it successfully and is no longer on that? And it's much better to have the programs there than to gut them and balance the budget on the backs of the poor and the voiceless. You know, we are running a truly 100% grassroots campaign. No one on my staff gets paid. It's all volunteers. We're not taking national PAC money. So, you know, we are relying on donations from people all across the country, and, you know, we get these donations of like $2 from, you know, people on fixed incomes, and those things, those stories that people tell me about, this is all the money I have, but I believe in what you're doing, and we want to support you, that means the world to us. My opponent, his biggest investor is Exxon, and he sits on an Energy and Commerce committees, and he has absolutely no ethics or morals, and it seems to be the way that the entire Republican Party is running.
Yeah, I mean, you have an amazing story. Just I was about to ask you about it, the ATV accident, and having to use those social programs to put yourself back on your feet. I would love for those who oppose you, you know, when you win this seat, for them to actually stand and look at you and tell you that those programs are just for lazy people or people who don't want to work, et cetera, because it adds so much validity that they can't argue against to say, no, I used these and it got me to the point I'm in now. It's just, it's a really inspiring story.
Yeah. I used Pell Grants to put myself through school because I had a high school education. Now I have a master's degree. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I work full-time as a hospice social worker while I campaign. And, you know, I'm married to a Marine Corps veteran, and my 18-year-old is actually out in California in MCRD right now.
Wow.
So I'm fighting for, you know, our veterans' benefits and the programs that we have that need to be in place. Now, the system, you know, like I said, there are problems with it, and I believe in accountability, but if you can navigate that system and do it the way you're supposed to and get off these programs, you can have a better life.
Absolutely.
And that's what I had. You know, they're supposed to be, your government is supposed to stand up for you when you fall down and give you a hand up, give you a foundation upon which to build. But if you're going to gut these programs, then we are going to have a devastating third world country where all we have is the people at the top and this huge gap in between. And as an advocate, I'm used to working with people who have no voice. And that's exactly how I've felt in the last 2 years, that I have no voice in my government, and especially now with the Citizens United. You know, the working class doesn't have a voice, because we can't write a $10,000 check. We can't have those kinds of fundraisers where we get those attentions of the big and powerful. You know, I prefer to have the you know, like tonight, people came out and they give what they can because that's important, and they volunteer their time. And I would, you know, I want to be the voice of the actual working people in this district. My opponent wants to be the voice for Exxon.
Yeah, he proves that by taking, you know, their money, which is one of your issues as well with, you know, campaign finance reform, that would lead me to believe that you're probably not, you know, that the DNC isn't full-heartedly behind you, because I know they often back away from candidates who are really pressing that issue. Is that the same in your case?
not only that, but we were drawn as a giveaway, so no Democrat actually ran in the primary. And we have Senator Dick Durbin, and he's a wonderful senator, and I met him prior to getting onto the ballot, and he shook my hand and told me I was brave and courageous, and then told me I was on my own. And I said, you know what, I know that. And so, no, we're not getting any help, but that's okay, because now we don't have an allegiance to the party, in a sense, which means we get to vote. I get to vote when I go to Congress for what's in the best interest of the people of my district. It's not just about, and yes, I'm a strong Democrat, and I believe in equality, and I believe in all those values, but this way you're not told, because people don't realize that, the Democratic Party line, you're expected to vote that way, even if it's not good for your district. And then when you don't take that PAC money and you don't get their help, they can't tell you how to vote. You can vote for what's good for the people of your district.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by you, Wanda, and the fact that if they're not going to support you, well, I imagine that you've been through tougher times, and it hasn't stopped you yet. So I don't see why this would stop you now.
It's not. We are running around a huge district and doing the best we can. And if people go on our website, they can click on the donate button and donate that way, or volunteer their time. And that's the important thing, is getting involved, not just in our campaign, but in your local campaigns, and having your voice heard. That's important.
Well,
and supporting candidates like me.
And we often tell our listeners that we know a lot of the stories of the people who listen to this show. They're friends and or have become friends of the years we've been doing this, and they can't afford to donate. They're working 2 jobs, so they can't afford to volunteer, but they take their time and help spread the word about candidates like you, and help get attention onto those issues and those people who they really believe in. And that's just as valuable. That time that they take there can often get those extra few sets of eyes onto a candidate's website. And we like to push that as well. Just like you're pushing, saying, hey, you can volunteer. It's not always about money.
Right. And putting, we use social media for Twitter and Facebook, and putting our story out there, having it shown around through all of the social media, that helps us. I did a video before I even ran, talking about how we need to take our house back, and how we need to get involved and protect those who have no voice. So that's on our website as well. And, you can go on there and look, and then if you're inspired to, pass it around. And because it is about that kind of thing, and supporting people when you talk. Support people, and the most important thing is people have to vote.
Absolutely. Well, stories like yours, I think, really inspire people and show that, so many people in this country are in tough circumstances right now where, they're not making enough money to pay their bills, and they're being hounded by creditors, and, the social programs just aren't there. They're caught in that limbo where they don't qualify, but they need the help. And being able to have a real inspirational figure show them, hey, you can do this. People have done it before you. You can get through it, I think is very valuable. Not to mention, you just happen to have awesome stances on all the issues, but...
Yeah, and I understand what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck and to do all those things. And I left college, even though I used Pell Grants and scholarships, because I graduated with honors, because I worked my tail off. But I left with $30,000 worth of student loan debt. So, we have to do what we have to do to survive in this country, but that means you have to say enough is enough, and we're tired of being abused by those in power. And we're going to take their line. I want to take our house back, give it back to the Democrats, and help our president and get some of these things done, because 2 years of a do-nothing Congress that wants to do nothing but legislate what goes on in my reproductive organs is enough.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we were discussing earlier how the Todd Akin comment isn't just about the disgustingness of what he said, but that he really does stand for what the Republican Party runs on and represents, and it's a bigger issue. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and when they want to say, well, we'll allow it in cases of rape or incest, he also was saying that he doesn't believe women when they go in and say that they're raped. They believe that all women lie about it, and that it's what they would talk about consensual rape. That's when you go out with someone, date rape, they would say, no, that's not really rape. You went out. And, you know, when we only allow it in cases of rape or incest, that means when you're already a victim, they want you to beg.
Yep.
They want you to say, I was a victim, now I need your permission to take my life back.
That's
to
exactly.
take any power back. And to force a woman to have forced pregnancy after a rape, when she's already lost so much, is appalling.
It absolutely is, and it shows that their level of concern for human beings as a whole. Wanda, thank you so much. Real quickly before we have to let you go, is there somewhere you're going to be coming up next that people can come out and meet you, donate to the campaign, figure out how they can volunteer?
Actually, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but if they go on our website or if they go on our Facebook, we update on a regular basis. I know that I'm going to be in Spring Valley tomorrow, I do believe, but I don't know the address.
Okay.
And but yeah, go on there and follow us. That would be great. And it's Rohl for Congress. It's ROHL. And I thank you so much for having me on and letting me talk tonight.
Oh, thank you for joining us. It's an honor to speak with you, and we wish you the best of luck. But we'll also put all those links up and check where you're going to be and put it up with the blog post for the show. So thank you so much, Wanda. Have a great night, and I hope you did great on tonight's fundraiser.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wanda Rohl, everybody. Awesome, real progressive candidate.
I like her a lot.
Yes, for Illinois' 16th district. I know it might not be your district. It's not my district, but we can still support people like her and show.
You know what? We used to remember this great idea by Howard Dean called the 50-state strategy.
Yeah.
And at first people were like, "Oh, don't you do that?" And then everyone's like, "Yeah, that was the best idea ever." How about we have a 535-seat strategy?
I like it.
I'm really tired of these throwaway districts, and I understand that's a natural outgrowth of gerrymandering and all that, and limited funds and blah 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 blah. They're spending overall billions of dollars on this election this year. I think there's enough money out there if it was spent wisely and divided up correctly, instead of throwing around all these cruddy commercials and all that. Let's have a 535-seat strategy.
Yeah.
And stop giving away these seats and saying, "Oh, good luck to you," and then turning your back on a good Democrat, a good progressive, who's really out there fighting for us.
Well, and when we do that, when we actually get involved in all of those 535 seats, we can end up with more people like her.
Right.
With more people who actually care more about the people in the district than whether or not they're going to bow to the party. And, hey, maybe things would actually start getting done. I have high hopes, and we'll definitely check back in with Wanda and see how the campaign is going, and we all wish her the best. We've got a little bit more fun in store for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shane O.
See, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Ooh, I gotta say, that was fantastic.
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shane O.
Are you living in a progressive talk void? If so, be sure to visit leftwingradiostations.com. The state-by-state listing is a quick and easy way to find any left-wing talk radio station across America, from sea to shining sea. Your progressive talk nirvana is only a click away at leftwingradiostations.com. Be sure to like Left-Wing Radio Stations on Facebook and share it with your friends. Leftwingradiostations.com. United we stand.
Hi, this is Brad Friedman, your friendly citizen investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, muckraker, and all-around swell fellow from bradblog.com. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. 1 hour of troublemaking and muckraking ripped from the pages of bradblog.com and sometimes from the dark recesses of my mind. We'll have investigative interviews with newsmakers, we'll call out the liars, frauds, and phonies, and we'll even give kudos to the good guys if we can find any. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. We'll report on politics, elections, election reform, mainstream corporate media failure, media reform, global warming denialism, and everything before, during, and after. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday, now a full hour, 3 to 4 p.m., right here on Pacifica Radio's KPFK, and coast to coast and around the globe on kpfk.org.
Unfiltered truth, news, and opinion. Filter-free radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
How do you impart upon somebody the disconnect or what's otherwise known as hypocrisy that people have, that they deny themselves from? They live in denial and live in the illusion.
You can't tell somebody they're wrong. They have to see it themselves.
Yeah, they have to discover for themselves how to think that way. So how do you plant the inception?
Filter-free radio, Monday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Radio or not, and filterfreeradio.com.
Arr, you mateys. Welcome to the ocean. I've sailed the seven seas 100 times and found something I like even more than me treasure. 'Tis the ocean, beautiful and clear. Right now I be sailing over the Great Barrier Reef. It just shivers me timbers thinking of all the fish and coral below me. Wait, what's that floating by? A plastic bag! By Blackbeard's eye patch, that's disgusting. Why did you know that many of these things come from folks throwing them carelessly on the ground? It be true. Lend us a hand by always recycling and disposing of your trash properly. Boys, get the plank ready. Somebody's got to dive in and get that bag. Any volunteers? All right, fine. I'll do it myself. Cannonball! Find out what you can do to help keep the oceans healthy at keepoceansclean.org. Brought to you by the Keep Oceans Clean Alliance and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Tim Cormall from The Tim Cormall Show. Join me and my guests most weeks for a progressive roundtable discussion about politics, news.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks.
I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not.
Radio or Not.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Bill Maher, you're here in Miami on Friday night. You're doing a show at the Fillmore at the Jackie Gleason Theater. They just renamed this theater the Fillmore. And they put up a couple of psychedelic posters. So I guess...
Was it the theater Jackie did his TV show from?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What I hear they did is put up two of those old Bill Graham posters and renamed it.
Yeah, I can't think of two different icons of show business.
Yeah, really.
Bill Graham and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, why they just didn't play up the Jackie Gleason aspect, I don't know. But then again, this is South Florida.
Right. Okay.
Welcome to it.
I feel warned.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
Hi, this is Kenny Pick from Turn Up the Night. Here are some of the hijinks you can expect from my show.
That right-wing Republican from Texas was only helping Dennis because he thought Dennis would be easier for Joe the plumber to beat than
Wow.
Ken.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, a pet rock would have been better candidate than Joe the plumber. I think he might actually have been a pet rock before he was a non-plumber. So, but he was a union pet rock, never mind. Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick, streaming live every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern at Radio or Not, Talk Radio 1, Progressive Blend Radio, and KennyPick.com.
You know that the ice cream scoop has the power to make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the golf tee brings friends together, that the mailbox keeps them connected. You know that the cataract laser helps you look to the future, while the pacemaker ensures that there's a future to be seen. You know that the lawnmower, the clothes dryer, and the elevator make life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. You know that these things we count on every day started as ideas. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Please visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shane.
Welcome back to the final minutes here of Talking Left. Great guest so far. But it is time again for Shane to share with us.
What do you want? Yeah, the last couple of you're like, oh, I'm running out of gas. Shane, say something. No, I have some stuff.
What you got for us, Shano?
Well, actually, I think the whole theme of this show pretty much is, and this is going to be the theme of the campaign, and this is nothing earth-shattering, is the proper role of government. And the thing is that the Republicans are presenting a false choice. They're saying that the government that has all of these ways to help out people when times are hard, or help them out to achieve something better, to get out of that economic slavery that's too expensive. There's no possible way that it can be paid for. And if we don't pay for it, then we're going to be in huge debt, and, therefore we have to get rid of all of it, and then you're all on your own. Lord of the Flies economically. And it extends even where I subscribe to all the campaigns on the right. So I still get their newsletters.
Yeah, you get all their newsletters.
Thankfully, they only suspended their campaign so they can still send me their wonderful notes.
What did you get this week?
And this is on the proper role of government again, and this is more of a state issue now. Rick Santorum, his Patriot Voices.
That sounds like a creepy patriotic horror movie.
Patriot Voices. Friend. I'm his friend now. I'm so happy. President Obama has spent the better part of his 3.5 years in office abusing the power of the presidency. Blah, blah, blah. Just recently, President Obama chose yet again to dismiss the actions of Congress for more than 15 years ago by gutting the work requirements in the Welfare Reform Bill of 1996. Lie.
Complete lie.
Lie. But yet again, they want to make this crazy choice that Obama just wants to give welfare to everyone and just go sit around, which is really not the case. Essentially, he just moved it back to the states. It said, states, there's a 5-year limit. You guys can, we're going to give you the money, but because of the way this economy is, if you have to go beyond that 5, you deal with it, but you make sure that still you show these specific results and there's still the work requirement.
Yes.
So they took that little part where we're giving it back to the states, which they love. They love the 10th Amendment, except when Barack Obama does it.
Well, they love anything except when Barack Obama does it. I mean, they cut basically the same $700 billion out of Medicare and in their bill, and it's only bad when Obama does it. But yeah, this is just complete.
But isn't this what the government should do?
Yes.
In situations where you have a particularly bad recession, this is not the fault of workers who are having a difficult time finding a job, have gone longer than what was anticipated back in 1996 when we had this booming economy under higher taxes, where it was quite a bit easier to find a job. When you have emergencies like this, situations like this, if Obama had done it himself, that would have been their heads would have exploded even more. Instead, he said, okay, states, because some states are doing better than others. If you look at it, Michigan, during the Bush years, during all these alleged booms, was in a recession the entire time.
Yes.
So states, you deal with this. You still have these requirements to meet, but we're going to loosen up so that you can really address the issues of people who are having a hard time. That's the proper role of government. But he specifically
still had the requirement that they show people returning to work.
Yes, 20%.
Yes. So it's a blatant lie. I mean, there's no, when you talk about economic principles or abortion values, you could think that maybe they believe what they're saying, just maybe. This is a blatant lie. But, hey, one more from Santorum, and I bet if you Google it, it still won't be the answer that comes up.
Nice.
I want to thank our great guests we had tonight. Alex Lawson of We Act Radio, strengthandsecurity.org, Kathleen Schafer of leadershipconnection.net, and Wanda Rohl. Go and check out her website, Rohl, R-O-H-L, for Congress.com. Follow her on Twitter and see what she's up to. Thanks to our great stations, SoFlo Radio, Progressive Blend Radio, Talk Radio 1, and of course, Home Sweet Home Radio or Not. Check out all the other shows and check out Kenny Pick on Fridays or Sundays on WVKO. And of course, last but never least, thanks to all of you guys, the listeners. You're the reason we do what we do, especially on technical difficulties nights like tonight. So thanks so much. We'll be back next week with Talking Left. This is Danielle and Shane. Have a great week.